The music stopped when Jimmy Fallon saw a child's tears during what was supposed to be the funniest segment on The Tonight Show. What started as a playful lip-sync battle became the most heartbreaking moment in late-night television history. The cameras kept rolling, but this was no longer about entertainment. It was Thursday night at Studio 6B in Rockefeller Center, and the energy was infectious, as always. The Tonight Show audience buzzed with anticipation for one of their favorite segments, Lip Sync Battle, their excited chatter filling the iconic studio, where comedy legends had performed for decades. Jimmy bounced around the stage in his perfectly fitted charcoal gray suit, that trademark enthusiasm radiating from every gesture, as he prepared for what he thought would be another night of harmless fun. Tonight's battle featured an unusual pairing that had already captured the audience's hearts during the earlier interview segment. 8-year-old Tyler Martinez sat in the oversized battle chair, his small frame completely dwarfed by the red velvet seat that had been designed for adult celebrities. His legs dangled freely in the air, not quite reaching the floor, and he wore his very best outfit for the show, a crisp white button-down shirt and perfectly pressed black slacks that his foster mother had carefully ironed that morning. Tyler had earned his coveted spot on The Tonight Show through a viral video that had melted hearts across every social media platform imaginable. The clip showed him performing elaborate lip-sync performances in his tiny bedroom, complete with meticulously choreographed dance moves and creative costume changes, using whatever clothes he could find. What made the video truly special wasn't just his obvious natural talent, but his pure, uninhibited joy, his fearless confidence, and the magical way he transformed into completely different characters with each song he performed. The backstory was both heartwarming and heartbreaking in that complex, layered way that real life often presents to us. Tyler had been living in foster care for nearly 2 years now, bouncing between different homes, after being removed from what social workers delicately termed an unstable family situation. His current foster family, the Garcias, had discovered his profound love for music and performance during his first week with them, immediately nurturing his talent and encouraging his dreams with the kind of unconditional support every child deserved. During the pre-show interview segment that had aired just minutes earlier, Tyler had charmed absolutely everyone in the studio with his remarkably mature vocabulary and old soul wisdom that seemed impossible for someone so young. When Jimmy had asked the standard question about what he wanted to be when he grew up, Tyler had looked directly into his eyes and said simply, "I want to make people happy like you do, Mr. Jimmy." The audience had audibly melted at his innocent sincerity, and Jimmy had immediately promised him the lip-sync battle of his life. The rules of lip-sync battle were delightfully simple, which made it the perfect segment for guests of all ages and backgrounds. 2 contestants take turns performing elaborate lip-sync performances to popular songs, complete with whatever props they could find, costume changes, and choreography limited only by their imagination. The studio audience determines the winner through their enthusiastic applause. But really, everyone always won because the pure joy and silliness were completely infectious. For the opening round, Jimmy had confidently chosen "Can't Stop the Feeling" by Justin Timberlake, one of his go-to songs for maximum crowd engagement. He pulled out absolutely every stop in his considerable arsenal, complete with his signature jazz hands, exaggerated facial expressions, and the kind of deliberately goofy dancing that had made him famous worldwide. The audience roared with delighted laughter as he incorporated random props from around the stage, turning his microphone stand into an impromptu dance partner and spinning around with infectious energy. Tyler watched Jimmy's performance with absolutely captivated wide eyes, clearly taking mental notes for his own upcoming performance while also genuinely enjoying every ridiculous moment. When Jimmy finished his routine with an elaborate spinning bow and arms spread wide, Tyler applauded with surprising enthusiasm, his small hands creating surprisingly loud claps that echoed clearly throughout the studio. "All right, Tyler, your turn to show me how it's really done," Jimmy announced with a laugh, still slightly out of breath from his characteristically energetic performance. "What song did you choose for round 1, buddy?" Tyler's entire face lit up with a brilliant smile that seemed bright enough to power the entire studio's lighting system. "Love Story" by Taylor Swift," Tyler announced confidently into his tiny child-sized microphone, his voice carrying clearly through the studio. "But Mr. Jimmy, this song is really, really special to me." Something subtle in his tone, a slight tremor of deeper emotion, made Jimmy pause and really look at the child, his well-developed host instincts telling him to pay closer attention. The opening guitar notes of Love Story filled the studio with their familiar melody, and Tyler transformed completely before everyone's eyes. Gone entirely was the shy, slightly nervous 8-year-old who had seemed overwhelmed during the interview portion of the show. In his place stood a confident, seasoned performer who clearly knew every single word, every beat, every subtle emotional nuance of the song he was about to perform. Tyler's performance was absolutely mesmerizing from the very first word that left his lips. He lip-synced with perfect timing and precision, his small hands gesturing dramatically as he told the timeless story of Romeo and Juliet through song. The audience was completely captivated, not just by his impressive technical skill, but by the genuine, raw emotion he somehow managed to bring to every single line. But something was happening that the audience couldn't quite see yet, something that would change everything in just a few moments. As Tyler continued his flawless performance, tears began to stream steadily down his young face. These weren't tears of stage fright or overwhelming excitement, but something much deeper, much more profound and heartbreaking. Jimmy noticed the tears immediately, his well-honed comedian instincts warring fiercely with his deeper human instincts about what was happening before his eyes. Every professional bone in his body told him the show must go on as planned. But something was clearly happening that transcended mere entertainment. Tyler continued performing absolutely flawlessly despite the tears flowing down his cheeks, his lips syncing, never wavering for even a moment, his choreographed movements never missing a single beat. As the song reached its soaring emotional climax, Tyler's performance became noticeably more intense, more desperate, more urgent. He was pouring his entire heart and soul into every gesture, every facial expression, as if this particular song carried meaning that went far beyond its already powerful lyrics. When the final notes finally faded away into silence, the studio erupted in thunderous applause and cheers. But Tyler didn't take the customary bow or flash his earlier brilliant smile at the audience's enthusiastic reaction. Instead, he carefully wiped his wet eyes with the white sleeve of his shirt and looked directly at Jimmy with an expression that seemed to hold years of accumulated pain and longing. "Tyler, buddy, that was absolutely incredible," Jimmy said warmly, immediately kneeling down to the child's eye level, as he always did with younger guests. "But are you okay, sweetheart? I couldn't help but notice some tears there during your performance." Tyler nodded slowly, then shook his head uncertainly, then nodded again, displaying the visible confusion of an 8-year-old trying desperately to process emotions far too complex for his young mind to fully understand. "Mr. Jimmy, can I tell you something important?" His voice was much smaller now, vulnerable in a way that made the entire studio audience unconsciously lean forward in their seats. Jimmy immediately set down his microphone on the stage floor and moved even closer to Tyler's oversized chair. "Of course, buddy, you can tell me absolutely anything you want." The cameras kept rolling steadily, but everyone present in the studio understood instinctively that they were now witnessing something that went far beyond their usual scheduled entertainment. "My mommy taught me this song," Tyler began, his young voice remarkably steady, despite the fresh tears continuing to flow down his cheeks. "We used to sing it together every single night before bed, and she always told me that I was her Romeo and she was Juliet, and that our love story would never ever end, no matter what happened." The entire studio fell completely silent, except for the low electrical hum of stage lights overhead. Jimmy's expression shifted visibly from entertainer to protector as he recognized the enormous emotional weight of what Tyler was courageously sharing with him. "That sounds really, really special, Tyler. Your mom clearly has excellent taste in music. But she doesn't remember me anymore," Tyler whispered, and those 7 words hit the studio like a devastating physical force. "She has Alzheimer's disease, and now she has to live in a special place where trained people can take care of her properly." The foster people explained that she's very sick in her brain and can't remember things like she used to. Jimmy's carefully composed face crumbled completely, as full understanding washed over him in crushing waves. This wasn't just an adorable kid participating in a fun lip-sync battle for television. This was a grieving child desperately using music to hold on to his disappearing mother, to keep their precious connection alive despite a cruel disease that was systematically stealing all her memories of him. When I sing this song, I close my eyes and pretend she's still right there singing with me like before, Tyler continued, his 8-year-old wisdom breaking hearts throughout the studio and beyond. But I haven't been allowed to see her in such a long time because the foster people say visits are too emotionally difficult for me to handle. I just thought that maybe if I sang it really loud on your TV show, maybe somehow she would hear it wherever she is and remember who I am. Behind the scenes, Jimmy made a split-second decision that completely defied every producer's carefully laid plans and expectations. He looked directly into Tyler's tear-filled eyes, his own eyes now brimming with matching tears. Tyler, do you happen to know exactly where your mom is living right now? Like what specific place takes care of her? Tyler nodded eagerly, a spark of hope flickering in his young eyes. Sunshine Manor. It's somewhere in New Jersey. Miss Garcia, my foster mom. She keeps the phone number written down in her special book, but she always says that calling wouldn't help anything because mommy doesn't understand how phones work anymore. Jimmy stood up slowly and deliberately walked over to his host desk, picking up the telephone that was normally nothing more than a decorative prop. Tyler, I want you to know something really important about music. Music is absolutely magical. It reaches parts of our hearts and minds that nothing else in the world can touch. And if any song in the entire universe is going to help your mom remember you, it's definitely this one. The entire studio held its collective breath as Jimmy dialed directory assistance with shaking fingers. Yes, I need the number for Sunshine Manor in New Jersey, please. This is Jimmy Fallon calling from The Tonight Show. And we have what I can only describe as an emergency of the heart happening here in our studio. Within just a few minutes that felt like hours, Jimmy had successfully reached the facility and was speaking with a compassionate night supervisor. He carefully explained the extraordinary situation unfolding live on television, and the supervisor agreed to immediately bring Tyler's mother, Maria Martinez, to the phone in the common room. She's actually having one of her more lucid evenings tonight, the supervisor explained gently. Sometimes our music therapy sessions really help with that. Tyler, I'm going to put this call on speakerphone, Jimmy announced, his voice thick with barely controlled emotion. When your mom comes to the phone, I want you to sing to her, not lip sync like before, but really sing with your own voice. Do you think you can do that for me, buddy? Tyler nodded vigorously, using his shirt sleeve to wipe his runny nose as he tried to compose himself. The studio audience was completely silent, everyone understanding that they were about to witness something absolutely sacred. Even the professional camera operators had visible tears streaming down their faces. The phone crackled to life with static, and then a soft, gentle voice came through the speaker system. Hello? This is Maria speaking. Her voice carried the sweet confusion of someone perpetually lost in the thick fog of Alzheimer's, uncertain but still fundamentally kind. Mommy? Tyler's voice completely broke on that single word. Mommy, it's Tyler. It's your Romeo, remember? There was a long moment of silence on the phone line. Then a sharp, audible intake of breath. Tyler, my little boy? Where are you, baby? I've been looking for you everywhere. The sudden recognition in her voice sent visible shockwaves throughout the entire studio. I'm on TV, Mommy. I'm on the big TV show. And I'm going to sing our special song just for you. Will you listen really carefully, okay? Tyler took the deepest breath his small lungs could manage and began to sing Love Story in his clear, angelically sweet 8-year-old voice. This time he wasn't lip-syncing to a recording, but really singing from his heart, his voice carrying all the desperate love and crushing longing of a child separated from his mother. As Tyler sang with everything he had, something absolutely magical began to happen. Through the phone speaker, the entire audience could clearly hear Maria beginning to sing along with him. Her voice was fragile and uncertain at first, but grew noticeably stronger and more confident with each passing line. Mother and son, separated by distance and a devastating disease, were singing their love story together once again. The studio was no longer a television set or entertainment venue. It had been transformed into something sacred and holy, a place where love transcended illness, where music proved its incredible power to heal and connect across any barrier. Tyler sang with absolutely everything he possessed, his small voice somehow carrying the enormous weight of 2 years of painful separation. When the song finally ended, Maria's voice came through the speaker clear and strong, more lucid than she had sounded in months. "That's my good boy. That's my Romeo. Mommy loves you so much, baby. Thank you for singing to me. I remember now, we used to sing this every night." Tyler collapsed completely into Jimmy's waiting arms, sobbing with the overwhelming relief of a child who had just heard his mother truly remember him for the first time in years. Jimmy held him tightly against his chest, his own tears flowing freely as he fully grasped the magnitude of what had just happened live on television. "We're going to figure this whole situation out, Tyler," Jimmy whispered directly into the child's ear, his voice fierce with determination. "You and your mom are going to see each other again very soon. I promise you that with all my heart." It was a promise Jimmy would move heaven and earth to keep, immediately working with social services and the Garcia family to arrange regular supervised visits. The studio audience rose to their feet in absolutely thunderous applause. But this wasn't the typical polite TV show appreciation. This was the overwhelming sound of hundreds of people who had just witnessed the raw power of unconditional love, the transcendent magic of music, and the incredible courage of an 8-year-old boy who absolutely refused to let his mother disappear from his life. The episode aired exactly as it had happened, completely unedited and raw in all its emotional intensity. Within hours, the video had been viewed millions of times across every social media platform imaginable. Sunshine Manor was flooded with financial donations specifically earmarked to dramatically improve their music therapy program. Most importantly of all, Tyler and Maria began having regular weekly video calls, singing their special song together every single time. 6 months later, Tyler was finally reunited with his mother, in person during one of her increasingly rare good days. The Garcia family had completed the legal adoption process, but maintained a close, loving relationship with Maria. Understanding that true love doesn't end simply because of illness, Tyler still sings Love Story every single night before bed, and sometimes on her best days, his mother remembers just enough to sing along with him. Jimmy kept Tyler's white button-down shirt from that transformative night, the one forever stained with tears of hope and recognition. It hangs prominently in his office, as a daily reminder that sometimes the most powerful performances in the world happen when someone pours their entire heart and soul into just 3 minutes of music. Subscribe and leave a comment because some stories desperately need to be shared with the world. Share this with someone who needs to remember that love always finds a way, even through the darkest nights of a failing mind. Because on that unforgettable Thursday night in Studio 6B, an 8-year-old boy proved beyond any doubt that some love stories never truly end. They just need the right song to bring them back to life.